Hello, welcome back to Math Time with Professor Prime, and I'm your host as always, Professor Prime. Recently, I made a video series on my teaching experience. It was a series of shorts, around 30, which is crazy, I know, but I've had a lot of teaching experience, and each of those videos talked about different aspects of that experience. And so with this video, I want to take all that and I want to put it together while giving you an even more nuanced take than I already gave, because we'll have the time for it. And I can give you the proper impact that teaching has had on me and my life. So with that in mind, I'm going to leave a link to that playlist in that series in the description where this video will be capping that off. Let's get into it. I almost said spoilers ahead, but this isn't a video where I'm covering a game or a show or a book or movie or something like that. So we're good. With that in mind, let's jump in. I've been teaching professionally for almost a decade. I have taught, many different students, many different ways, offline, in the traditional sense. Also, online as well. And I've taught in some non-traditional ways, i.e. online in its own right, but also tutoring is very much a part of my journey, and I'd argue that the videos that I make here are addressing needs that aren't always met in the classroom and are a different style of teaching that I can add to the table. And with that in mind, I've also taught locally. I've taught internationally. I've taught students as young as 5 and students as old as 65. I've taught different races, different ethnicities, different sexualities and gender, with everyone being connected by the fact that they were there to learn math, something that on an academic level is a language, a skill set, a problem solving tool, and on a universal level it is something that we do. It is the whole point that the academic level exists. We are natural mathematicians, and my journey has helped me see that in a way that I don't think a lot of people have, and it has allowed me to move forward in the way that I want. It has given me some guidance, and to go back, there's a lot that led up to me teaching professionally. So I wanted to teach since I was 5. It's just something that I wanted to do. Now, Kid Prime, young Prime, he knew what he was talking about. He wanted to teach. He wanted to save the world. Over the years, there was definitely some cynicism that crept in, and I didn't want to do either of those things, or I didn't think they would make the difference that they actually do. But I've moved past that as best I can. There's still always going to be some cynicism, but I feel like my optimism checks that, and as does my realism, because I feel like we see optimism and we see realism and we think that they are two distinct things. They don't have to be. I think if you're optimistic and just optimistic, it won't get anywhere. But I think if you're pessimistic and just pessimistic, you also won't get anywhere. You can add realism to both. You can see the positives in something, while seeing the reality of the situation. Same as where you can see all negatives of something, and see the reality of the situation. And also in both cases, you can see all the positives or all the negatives, or mostly positive, mostly negative, and miss reality completely. So for me, I'm an optimistic realist, and my experiences have shaped me in that regard. Now, going back to the teaching aspect of it, it's something that I wanted to do since I was 5. And then you jump ahead a little bit. I've been tutoring since I was 10, and that shaped me. That shaped my teaching experience. Because, I have worked with different group sizes too, right? I've worked with one-on-one, which is it comes from that tutoring experience, right? I've taught small groups, mid-sized groups, large groups, really large groups, anywhere from 2 to 160. That's the kind of level that I was working on, different sizes, right? And then of course the one-on-one, and there's different advantages to that, but it started with that desire to teach and that tutoring. It also helping people in class. A lot of teachers would see what I could do and they would urge me to help other students, and so I did. I didn't really think about it. It was just something that I was like, okay, that's cool, and so I did. And I didn't really understand back then how special that was. I had an ability to reach people, and it was just something that I knew, right? And I feel like with math, I got lucky. Hear me out on that. I got lucky because my mom saw how much I liked it, and she kept on pushing me forward with that in a way that was like natural. Like I've been doing algebra since I was 6. Like she helped me with that, and then when there was stuff that she didn't know, she worked with teachers to get me there. And so I've been doing math in an academic sense, like for as long as most people have, but I was exposed to different things with that. And so I feel like my mom and her pushing me in that natural way really helped me along my journey. And here's the thing, my mom is also a writer. It's what she does. And that helps me too, because at the end of the day, when you're talking about math on an academic level, you're talking about communication, you're talking about writing, you're talking about forming an argument. And having that sort of thing like ingrained in me and having my own skill set, backed up by what my mom taught me, I feel like that really helped me stand out and get a better sense of what we were doing in the classroom. And the other reason why I say I got lucky is because I never lost that whimsy for math. When you're younger, I feel like there's this idea that people want to make math make sense, right? They want it to be concrete, and to me, that makes sense. Math is something that I am doing, that you're doing, that this world is doing, that this universe is doing. And what we're doing in the classroom is meant to make sense of that, right? So to me, that's very much the point. But then we get to, like, let's say algebra, and the way it's often treated in schools is like, you learn a bunch of equations, you learn this algorithm, that algorithm, and all of a sudden that's about it. You're lucky if you get a teacher who wants to take it further than that. And oftentimes the teachers who do, they are kind of pinned in. They have to follow this curriculum, that curriculum, make sure you're able to pass this test or that test, and it gets in the way. We get to algebra, and collectively speaking, we miss the point. Because again, math is what we do. It's what the universe is doing. In the classroom, what the stuff that we're learning there, that's supposed to help. And the other thing is, what I've noticed over the years is that, times have changed. We are doing complicated calculations all of the time. We are at a point where a lot of math is being done behind the scenes. There's so much math that goes into us using our cell phones, being on the internet, playing our games, doing music and stuff like that. But a lot of that is behind the scenes. And with education, I feel like it's no different, but we haven't adjusted how we teach math. And so growing up and, having the luck that I did, combined with the skill, combined with seeing how my classmates reacted once we got to a different era, it helped shape a lot, because I never lost that whimsy for math, and I was lucky for that. But I know a lot of people who did, and I get why. I really do. And I feel like making sure I don't lose sight of that has helped me out tremendously. So that kind of takes care of the beginning part for the most part, right? Like I had like some skill in math, like on an academic level, because the truth is, on the universe level, we all got that skill. And so for the academic level, we can all get there, but how that math is depicted to us varies, right? I was lucky. I had my mom, and I had other people in my life, other family members, teachers that saw my talent, and they pushed me further with that. Now, what's interesting is there was a point in 8th grade, though, where I was placed in algebra with assistance despite getting nothing but A's in math my entire life. It was weird. I was talking to my mom before the series began, and we were wondering, was it intentional? And here's why I say that. Because, we pointed out the issue, and the school acknowledged there was an error. But I was asked by the teacher who taught algebra and the teacher who taught algebra assistance to stay. They said, look, you don't need this, but staying could be a unique opportunity. You could be an asset. You can gain a lot by helping other people out. And I think, like, with helping people out, that sounds cool to me, right? And like I said, I'm getting a lot out of it. And I didn't quite get exactly what that meant at the time, but I got it when I was in it. And it was something that stuck with me. When you teach someone, You have to have a more nuanced set. A little bit. You have to have a nuanced um, knowledge base, right? It's not enough to just like know the facts and the figures and the equations and the algorithms and all that. You need to go deeper. And I think over time, I was able to not only see that, but refine what I wanted to get across. You know, and to varying degrees of success, I feel in the beginning, but largely a lot of success. So you get a little bit more background. So I stayed in the class. I helped a lot of people. I got a lot out of that. I continued helping people through high school, throughout college, all that good stuff. I led study groups, and all that good stuff, and that was useful. Forming and leading a study group can be game changing. Just being in one can be useful because you're working with your peers, and if you're leading one, it gives you not only that chance for leadership skills, but to really dive in to the material. So all of those things have added to my teaching journey. And despite having one point in my life where I didn't want to, teach math because it's like, well, everyone's expecting that, right? It's like, and I don't want to just do that. I want to do research. I ended up breaking into math by teaching and liking it so thoroughly well that I can't leave it alone. Like I even took sort of a break in this last year or so, only to just change my mind on that. But I never really stopped, so it's up for debate if I really took a break, Um, but in any case, I've done a lot of different things, and one of the things that I didn't mention much of in the videos, because you're strapped for time, is that so you all have a better idea of like the different levels of experience that I've had and what kind of led there. But one of the things that I also wanted to mention was, so not only have I been the faculty, but I've been the support, right? And that's important. And I'm not only taught, but I provided like services like running a math and science tutoring center, and things like that, and organizing different workshops, i.e., on math anxiety, becoming a better student, things along those lines. And not only that, but one of the things that I didn't really get into is that I've done a lot of curriculum development. And that's key, right? Because when you're doing curriculum development, you have to decide what you want to do, what works, what boundaries are imposed on you, what can you play around with, and how you want to implement things. And to that time, like to that curriculum development aspect of things, I would go on to eventually create my own math class that I was given free reign with that, and I ran with it. And it was talking about math in the world, which was very, very topical because I was doing that sort of thing in my personal time. And one of the reasons why I have my channel, one of the reasons why I have my site, and one of the reasons why I'm writing a book, is so I can change the game. What we're doing right now isn't working. How we teach math collectively is trash. You might get some individuals who teach it and teach it well and go beyond what is in that textbook, but that is not the norm. And that needs to change because we get into this idea that, math can only be done by certain people. And that's hogwash, malarkey, poppycock, absolute dribble. But seriously speaking, it's not true. Math is something that we do. That's something that I mentioned in this video. That's something that I mentioned in a lot of other videos. It's not the kind of thing that you have to have a certain mind to do it. You do it whether you're conscious of it or not. You do it when you're listening to your music. You do it when you're playing your music, when you're making your food, and when you're eating it. You're doing it when you're playing a game. You're doing it when you're watching or listening to this video right now. You are doing it all the time, and you're doing it everywhere. And that's the kind of thing that gets missed. And for people who are struggling on the academic level, that does not mean you can't handle things there either. You can. We have different teaching styles and we have different learning styles. And the problem may not be you, but how that information was conveyed to you. And what I mentioned earlier in this video was that I don't think that we get the point when we teach math at a certain level. I feel like we completely miss the point. I feel like we run right up to it and then we just keep on going. And that's a problem. And that sort of thing is why I want to change things. I want to show people what math really is. I want to have people see the beauty in math, the wonder in math. I want people to not get got. I want them to realize that they can do this thing that they thought that they can't. I want them to see that they do this thing that they thought that they can't. I want people to be motivated and empowered by math, not feared. I want people to not be traumatized by it. I want people to use it. I want, use it more. I want people to recognize that they use it more. I want people to analyze more, right? There are some people in this world that wish to do you harm, that are relying on math being perceived as this thing that can only be grasped by this person or that person. And those kind of people, they will throw so-called facts and figures at you. And sometimes those things just are objectively not true. And sometimes they can throw these things out and not give you context. And that's a problem. So with that in mind, teaching in the future, I want to do some traditional teaching, sure, where, it's like, hey, let's learn this lesson and that lesson and da-da-da-da-da. But I want to continue my non-traditional route, which means having larger conversations, meeting students where they're at, getting them to see math in a different way. And I want to go global. Notice that I mentioned like teaching locally but also internationally as well. And if you're wondering what the difference between international and global in my mind is this. So when when I was talking about location before, to start with locally, I meant like in your hometown or in the country that you're in. And for international, teaching people in different countries, whether you're like going to set country to teach or just teaching online, with the idea being like it could be one-on-one, it could be different group sizes, and I think for the global side of things, the idea is scale, to reach more people and reach them more frequently, to change the game entirely. That is the plan. That is the goal. And I will get what I want, but it's going to take time. It's going to take energy, and it's going to take effort. I have a multi-tiered, multi-yeared plan for that. And again, this sort of thing, this is why I have my channel, my site, and why I'm working on a book about all this sort of stuff. And for the record, if you're not watching this on YouTube, how are you watching it, for starters? But my YouTube channel is Math Time with Professor Prime, and you might have also just stumbled across a video and not really paid attention to the channel name. So just there it is, Math Time with Professor Prime. And it's pretty much that same thing on various platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Right, you can find me that way. And I have all that stuff to kind of support that goal. And mathtimewithprofessorprime.com is my site. I have different things on there, notably a resource hub for free online resources concerning math. And the idea is to give people as many tools as possible, because the idea is, right, math in that academic sense, on that professional level, it's meant to make our lives easier. It's meant to take what's going on in the universe and try to make sense of it, to solve problems, to say something about the past, the present, the future, ourselves. And to deny people that, or to act as though people can't do that, it's mistaken. It's flawed. It needs to change. It needs to go. Especially given that we're in this very STEM-driven world. So when I look back on my experience, I've been at this for a long time, even before I did it professionally. It's been most of my life. And I think one of my things is like, in this last decade or so, I've spent so much time, doing all that great stuff, being the faculty, being the support, going to this event, going to that event, developing this curriculum and that curriculum. I got so caught up in the work that I was doing, though, that I didn't think about the next step. I accomplished most of what I wanted to do originally, goal-wise, by 30. Most of those goals were professional, and that's a problem. So I wanted to, figure out the next steps, right? I got so caught up in the work that it was easy to miss that. I'm a workaholic, and I picked a profession that I knew was going to be a problem in, but I'm like, hey, we spend most of our lives at work, so why not? But I didn't have the level of expertise I have now. I didn't have that moment to breathe and to process. And now that I have, I decided to take everything that worked with what I was doing and expand. And I think one of the most crucial things was that there was this class, like quantitative literacy, that I taught. Like of all the classes, I think that was like probably the most important. And I'm saying this having taught calc, which is my jam. But I say that it is important because it gave me a chance to reach a lot of different people and have them think about math differently. It was an excuse to write math more and focus in on that. Get people thinking about it differently because that's what it is when you're in that classroom. It's writing, it's making an argument. It's not just about the answer, it's about the journey as well. It's about taking the reader on that journey. And so I feel like doing a class like that where we were building it up from scratch, it really helped. And since I already had curriculum development experience in my past, it helped me hit a running start with things. And working with other people and getting into that, I feel like it really shaped things because again, like one of the focus was like reading and writing math better, which is something that doesn't get really taught like that. And I think it was like kind of crazy that the class is geared towards non-STEM majors, even though literally everyone can benefit from that. Like, all right, like that's my view on it. But it gave me a lot to work with and a lot to think about. It allowed me to refine my techniques more. And since moving on from that and moving on from a lot of other things, that's given me a chance to process things and reflect even more. I know what the next step looks like. It's just getting there. And slowly but surely, I've been building up content on various platforms. I'm talking about like on YouTube alone, literally over 1,000 videos. Now, I'm not even kidding on that. Seriously, look at my channel. It's kind of insane. And the idea though is I know what I want. I'm going to get there, but it's going to take some time. And I focus a lot on the creativity for these last few years, and that will never go away. But what I need to do is also focus on the marketing sort of side and expanding. That's something that I haven't really done. But I need to do both in order to get across what I want to get across. And then with what I'm doing, you never know who that inspires. You never know who will take what I'm doing and run with it. You never know who you'll end up working with, collaborating with, and what new things can come out. Because I have my plans, sure, and it's great. But here's the thing. Part of that plan includes some unplanned stuff, right? Because the idea is to do what I do, inspire other people, and see where that leads while I'm still doing my thing. And I think beautiful stuff is going to come out of that. And it's just getting there. And I feel like with my abilities to go outside of what we're doing and talk about math on a deeper level, I feel like that, along with compassion, along with like a variety of the things that I do, will really help. I managed to turn being ridiculous and over the top into a valid, legitimate teaching style. And you know what? It wasn't an accident. And so I want to take that energy, I want to take that passion, and I want to take my dreams and seriously shake the game up. And that's what I'm going to do. Give it some time. With that in mind, I hope that you have found this video enjoyable and that it gave you a better insight to my teaching experience, that it gave you a better insight to me. With that in mind, thank you for watching. Thank you for being along on the journey, and I'll see you in the future.